Hello, and welcome to Motorcycle Adventuring with Miguelito. This is the Little Red Donkey. He is a 2000 Trail 125 here in the States and a 2000 CT125 the rest of the world. Today I'm going to install the Denali B6 tail and brake lights. Like I said, it's the B6 Denali. It's a sealed beam 6 LED stoplight, and on the back it's telling you that it's a 0.5 amp 12 volts dual intensity circuit, waterproof housing, waterproof connector. The thing's bomb proof. So this is the actual light. It's nice, there's no doubt about it. It's high quality. The coverings obviously are all sealed really well. It's heavy duty. The plugs are all waterproof, shrink wrapped. It's not just shrink wrapped, it's shrink wrapped with a marine adhesive in there, so water can't possibly get in there. I mean, it's tough. They give you enough there. Also in the box, they give you a pigtail, which we're all gonna need this on our CTs and most other applications. So it simply plugs in to just like that. And now you've got 3 wires. You've got the ground, or the hot rather. You've got a red and an orange. We're going to try to see what those are. The directions that come with it are going to tell you that. And gives you some directions. Inside it gives you some posi-taps, 3 of them, 3 wires. And it gives you some mounting hardware as well as the mounting little Allen screws that is going to mount this B6 to one of these 2, if you choose to use these. I am. One of these 2 mounting brackets. Now, my previous video, you saw that I used this particular mounting bracket where the hole comes off at a 90-degree angle. That works absolutely perfect, just like it was made for the CT125 on the front for daylight running lights. It's the same setup. But I'm not going to use that on this. I found another one. It's called the offset bracket right here. So that comes off at a 90-degree angle. Obviously it's offset. That, when I show you what it looks like on the bike, you're going to see how well that works. Now, not only am I going to mount one of these, I'm going to mount 2 of them, one on each side of the plate. All right, here we are at the back of Little Red Donkey. And I kind of wanted to show you at least where my thinking was at on mounting these. As you can see, I've basically mounted one up already. I'm going to remount it in a minute because I have to break into the light. Not break in, I have to disassemble the light so I can access the wires. I'm going to remove this stupid thing. I'll put it back on for now, but I hate when they do that from the dealer. But I decided I'm going to mount one here and I'm going to mount one here, so one on each side. And what these are going to do, they're going to work as a tail light and a brake light. Now, the reason I got this bracket, the fender bracket here originally, I was going to mount these on where the reflector goes. And it would mount on there and it would stick out just like that. And I could aim them. But when I saw these offset brackets, in fact, I'm going to return these. I got to be very careful with them. Back to twisted throttle. I liked the way this was set up. Going to have one on each side. It's going to bracket in this, and I think they're going to work out just fine. Again, you can see it's filled in a little bit here with that bracket. That's not going to matter one little bit because the light will fit right in there. The wiring will go back, and it's going to enter into this housing somehow. And to be perfectly honest, we're going to find out together how I'm going to do that, because at this minute, all I'm going to do is start disassembling and let's see where we get. These are installed by the dealer. And I know I'm about to make some people cringe because, yes, we're going to use this. And it's American or standard size nuts and bolts here because, and I'm not going to be reusing them. Right there, that's off. Okay, so I can put this on here close until I get the plate. I have to put that back in and put the temporary plate back on here until I get it. And I'll just bolt these in place when the time comes. But what I'd like to do first is kind of tell you how to get into this, because we have to run the electrical from this into there and figure out what wires we're going to pick up. And there's a whole bunch of things on here that can really confuse you. First of all, this is bolted from the inside in there. There's an interplastic fender liner, I guess you'd call it, on the inside that has JIS screws or Phillips screws, and also little kind of push pins that they use in the automotive industry, and they're just fine for that. There's also on each side of this, there's going to be some 5mm hex heads or Allen heads. You don't need to touch those. Underneath this, going up underneath inside, there's a 10mm bolt that goes up through. Don't need to touch that. The one you need to get to is located, and I'm going to show you after I get it off because it's a little bit more difficult to see in here. Right on top, that's also a 5mm. And all you have to do is unscrew it. I actually had to get in there a little bit sideways with this to unscrew it and then finish it up by hand. And then what happens, and you have to be really careful, this whole top plate just kind of forces off. Look at there. You can kind of see where that little 5 goes down into the back here. And there's a little rubber grommet in there that goes down and holds it down, and you screw it down. Anyway, so now I'm going to move this, and I might have to reposition, so forgive me, so that you can see the electrical wiring in there. Hopefully you can see this. I'm going to use this flashlight and this eraser on this pencil. Here's the wiring, obviously. Wiring harness comes in, and this wire here goes out to the right blinker. This one here goes out to the left. So the left is going to be a, looks like a green, which is our ground, and a orange. And on this side, it's going to be a green, and looks like a solid white going in there. Now the way I'm going to do it with my finger, there's a little bendy piece of metal there. If you bend that back, I just showed you that, you should be able to pop this little wiring loom. Keep calling it a harness, it's part of the harness. Little wiring loom right up. Let's see how far I can get it. Yep, there's another one holding it down in there, so I'm going to go from the side here and make some room right there. So I can get it up into this area, and that's going to be just fine for me. So again, left blinker is going to be solid white and a green. Excuse me, that's right blinker, idiot. Left blinker is going to be the green and the orange. And going into the tail light, we're going to have a brown. We're going to have the green. And then, just to make sure, we're going to have a green with a yellow. So we're going to have a, there's actually, so that's 2 circuits, isn't it? It's going to be a stop light and a running light or a tail light, plus the green. So we're going to see which one of those I need to tap into. I'm also going to open up this little clip here. I'm going to try to show you on here how easy that is, but it really is easy. Hopefully I can do it on camera. If not, I'll kind of show the end result. And we'll actually see if the Denali kit fits on this. It just might. If it does, that'd be fantastic. All right, so what I did, I was able to pull it apart. It's just a simple clip. But you know, looking at this, the Denali light has a lot of wiring. I'm just not going to be able to use that. I guess I could stuff it in there, but then what for? I have to put a pigtail on it anyway. So I've decided I'm going to cut this after I have enough. I'm going to leave a couple of inches here, so someday I wanted to move it out to the edge, I'll still have enough wire to go. But what I'm going to do, and I know this is going to make some of you cringe, I'm going to use a posi-tap on all 3 of these. I know I have to tap into the green because that's my ground, and I'm not sure which one of these, the green with the yellow or the brown, which ones those are, but if I posi-tap into them, and I can actually connect both sides using just the 3 posi-taps, 1, 2, 3, that I'm going to need. then I can put this back in there and I'll have a whole bunch of room in there. One last thing, what I'm going to need to do, have to decide where I'm going to tap into, where I'm going to drill into this plastic housing, and I'm going to put a rubber grommet so that I can pass this through. Now, Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever you want to go, they're going to have a nice rubber grommet. They're really easy to do. Again, pick wisely. I think where I'm going to go is, like I said before, on each side of the light, there's some 5mm Allen heads that mount the plastic housing to the subframe here, the lighting subframe, I should say. And just next to those, there seems to be a lot of room that I'm going to be able to put in a grommet, and a watertight grommet, and pass this through, and I'll have enough wire to wire it up to go into the posi-taps. And that's really a good location, because any water, any mud or anything is going to have to flow up to it. So it's not going to set, for instance, I wouldn't do it, but if you're going to tap into the top of this, water, mud, whatever, the dust is going to set on top of it. I wouldn't tap into that anyway, because it'd be a booger to replace. But I'm going to go through the side, and I'm going to grab those, and I'm going to let you guys know exactly where I go through. All right, what we have is it's a side view of where I'm going to drill into. I'm going to drill right about in here. Hopefully the light's picking it up. I'm going to put a rubber grommet right here, and that gives me enough room on both sides inside to pass the cable. I kind of installed the light a little bit, and I'm going to pass this cable right through here after I put a grommet in. Should be fairly watertight and dust tight, so it shouldn't be introducing. Besides which, this is not really waterproof and dustproof anyway, but you know, you want to try to keep it that way the best you can. So I'm going to put some tape on there, and I've decided that I'm going to go 10 mil. So I've already set my calipers for 10 mil, right about there. As you can see, I was able to drill a hole, put the grommet in, run the cable through, and I've got it popped right up here. You can see I got plenty of cable, so yeah, obviously I already cut it. I'm going to be cutting this down, probably right in here, so I have enough to where if I want to move this light around, I can. I don't know where I'm going to move it to, that I don't already have enough. But I just don't want to pile up the inside of that with a bunch of wire, and I just don't need it. So I'll cut that off. Now I'm going to do the other side, then we're going to go to wiring. All right, as you can see, I'm at the rear of the bike, and I've got the brake light assembly open. And I've already used the 3 posi-taps that Denali supplied with this kit. There's only 3 wires going into the tail light assembly. The first one is a green, which is the ground. The second one is going to be a green with a yellow stripe, which is the brake. The third one's going to be a brown, which is the running lights. We're going to use all 3 of them. Now, as you can see, yeah, I butchered up their absolutely excellent factory wire harness here. The reason I did that is there's just not enough room if I use their plugs and the way they've supplied it to fit inside that. So let me show you what I did. I cut off, here's the end that I cut off. I didn't cut that much off. I actually cut about 8 inches in total. So think of this still connected. What you're able to do then is they give you this 3-way connector, which is pretty slick. By the way, these connectors, extremely high quality and waterproof. Can you beat that? They're waterproof. They're really high quality connections. So that would plug in here, right? The second one would plug in here, so because I'm doing 2 lights like that. Then this third one plugs into their factory-made pigtail like this. Let me do it right. Factory-made pigtail. And so that's what you got, and that's kind of what I have here. But because I couldn't fit all this, I couldn't jam it up, plus the extra wire into that little teeny space there, I chose not to use that. There, so I throw them out. No, I didn't. I'm keeping them. So what I'm going to do, I've connected all these wires together, and I'm going to make my own pigtail. The way I'm going to do that, let me get these posi-tap tops out of the way. the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to solder the two into one, and then I'm going to have a single wire to go in the posi-tap. All right, now I'm going to lay it here. The way I like to do these is about halfway, and I'm just going to twist both sides to connect it up nice and tight. So that's my mechanical. I know a lot of people don't do that, or they're going to get a hold of me and say, hey man, you really screwed up. That's cool. I hear that all the time. All right, so here's my really cool jig to hold everything together. I'm going to do this one maybe. Let's see if this one, if I got it set up. Yep, just kind of holds it there. And that's going to work. So there's my solder. Get my solder gun out. Turn it on here. By the way, I'm using the correct type of solder, not plumber's solder. So let's see how horribly I can do this. That's all there is to it, folks. That's about it. You don't need to over solder it. The twisting is a mechanical hold. The solder is a mechanical hold. And trust me, it's on there. It took what? A second. And the last thing I'm going to do, and I'll do this, I'm going to use some shrink wrap. Now, these aren't exactly the best. They're just a Harbor Freight type. Because again, this is what I'm doing here is not going to be waterproof. If I was going to do waterproof, I would use, I think Anchor Marine makes a type of shrink with the marine adhesive inside, and it absolutely makes it waterproof. So I don't need all that. I'm going to cut that down probably by half. So I want to slip it past all that, right about there. That's it, folks. That's all there is to it. So I basically went 2 into 1. By the way, I got this wire from Soldering up their pigtail. So that is nice. It's going to hold. There's going to be no issues with that in the future. Then I've got a single wire going in. Let me do the other two, and we'll continue with the video. All right, as you can see through the miracle of modern editing, I went ahead and soldered and shrink wrapped the other 3 wires. And I wanted to show you one last thing. Again, I hate to keep harping on it, there's not a lot of room in there, but I want to try to keep any stress from these moving around and working these wires. So I'm just going to throw a little bit of electrical tape around that. And I'm going to use blue electrical tape. And there's a really critical reason I'm using blue. Reason I'm using blue is because, oh, what a great job there. That's the only color I have. I don't know where my black electrical tape is. I'm probably out of it, but I only have blue. So whatever you do, don't use any other color besides blue. I mean, Yamaha blue on a Honda. Okay, so that kind of stabilizes those together, and I should be able to fold those over and fit them in. So the next thing we're going to do is connect a posi-tap. This is a posi-tap. This side here, I'm going to undo it for those of you who haven't used them. The wire, in this case, from the bike, just lays in that groove, okay, like that. Then it screws back on. When it screws back on, there's a little pointy tip there, and it makes contact by penetrating the sheathing on the wire, and it connects in there and it locks it in there. I think pretty nice. I've never had issues with posi-tap. So what you're seeing is this is already attached, and that's what you're looking at. So now we're going to connect this. The way you do this, the way I do it, is I put on, and you take it. Now again, it's kind of crunched up in here. Hopefully the camera's picking it up. And put it there, put it right in there. And as this screws down, it forces the wire to have contact, and it holds it really tight. And so it doesn't come out. if you want to look, that's how it's done. Now there's a little space here. Obviously this is not weather tight, waterproof of any type, but again, it's going to be in the housing. Now if you wanted, you could use liquid electrical tape. I'm just going to tape these over again to hold this. That's how you use a posi-tap. Let me do the other two and we'll get back to you. All right, we're back. I've got shortened them up, taped them up. Now I get to try to fit this mess inside. There's no way I can film this. There's just not going to be any way I can get in there. Before I button it up, I'm going to test it. You should too. Yeah, it fits right on there. Nice. So we're going to test it first so we don't get frustrated and then have to take it all back apart. So we're going to make sure that everything's set. And if it is, guess what? Let's move on and let's see how they work. See what happens here. That's not bad. Those are my running lights, or regular old tail lights. Now let's see what happens when I hit the brake. Pardon me. Let's see. Oh, I'm liking that. I am. That's about 10 times, 20 times brighter than anything else. I mean, look at that. That just is crazy.